Well, hello and welcome to Calculus. My name is Jennifer Anderson, and I was just going to tell you about the class, a little bit about myself, some expectations to share, and how we can all communicate. So let's get started. So first, a little bit about myself. I'm the lead teacher for math. I've been teaching for 25 years and I love being a teacher. I've included some pictures of my family because I feel like my family is a really good representation of myself, and I'm right there. I'm also a math team coach. I'm a wife and a mom, as you can see from the pictures, but I am also a teacher at heart. And I use that phrase because I really have a heart for teaching, for being around the kids, for helping them to understand all kinds of math. And I mean, calculus is the tip of the iceberg here because we're using all this math that they've used throughout their lives. And I get excited to find ways and new ways to communicate and to teach them. And I just love interacting with them. So I just definitely feel like this is what I was meant to do. Now, also on this slide, I did include something that's rather important. It might not seem like this is a big deal, but my email address is unique. Now, most people in the district do not have a middle initial, but I do in my email address because there are 3 Jennifer Andersons in this district. So I just wanted to point that out to you simply because I've had several people over the years try to send me an email and they've wondered why I haven't gotten back to them. And the reason is because it probably never came to me and it went to a different Jennifer Anderson. So I just wanted to mention that for future use in case if you needed to reach me. So as far as the calculus classroom goes, I don't think there's anything super shocking here. Just being ready to learn, being mentally ready to participate and to be challenged. Because I'm going to tell you, calculus is a very challenging class. It includes all the math, pretty much all the math they've ever learned, especially at the high school level. And so that can be pretty daunting. So being prepared for class, like having tried your homework, working through those problems is really going to set students up for the best way to have success. So if they did forget how to finish a problem, or if they did forget a certain topic from the past, that's okay because they can just ask me and then I can explain that to them. So if they haven't done any of that homework to be prepared for class, then they're not going to realize that there were some things that they're rusty at, and so that's just not a good thing. So we just want to make sure that they are prepared and ready to actually ask. It's a rigorous class, but I have a very relaxed atmosphere. I always invite the students, come off of mute, just interrupt me, if you have a question, or throw it into the chat. So, definitely communications and asking those questions is a really big deal. So I try to enforce that to them all the time, that I really do want them to ask those questions. I mean it. Now, we will use a calculator, and actually quite a lot we will use a calculator, but that is per AP guidelines. So every single topic that we do, we will learn it in an analytical way so that the students can solve it, pencil, paper, no calculator. But they also have to know how to use technology to quickly access information that they would need from different functions. And so that is a major requirement for the class. Half of the AP test is also calculator based. So that's a big tool that they will need to have in class. As far as arriving on time, I just encourage them, maybe even jump on 1 minute earlier when we're doing our remote learning so that in case if your internet is a little slow, you don't miss some of the opening announcements that happen at the beginning of class. Here are the topics that we'll be taking a look at. So we're in limits. Actually, we are testing limits this week. And after that, we're going to learn about derivatives. We're going to do applications of them. And then we get to undo it all and do integration and those applications, and then to prepare for the AP test, which again, the entire point of taking this class is to earn that college credit. So we are preparing them very well for achieving that task. Now, I wanted to also share with you is that every week up on our Google Classroom, I will create a week at a glance. And so you can see this is from last week, and this is just an example of, Monday through Friday, what are the main, points of the day? What will we be doing? So the students can see that at a glance. They'll see if we have any quizzes coming up, any, specific sections that we're covering. If you see the word review, that's probably going to indicate that we have some kind of an assessment coming up. So that important information will be there. I'll also include if there's any major announcements at the bottom. Once they get past that slide, then we have our whole week laid out. So specifically, they could go ahead and click on any one of those numbers. Those represent hot links to what we're doing that day. So if they were to press, say, on Wednesday, that would take them right to the Wednesday slide, and then they would be able to access the guided notes that are right here. They would just it's hot linked. They would just click that green box. And if they wanted to, absolutely go ahead, print that out. Then when we're following through the notes, they can just fill them in as if they were in class, but it's not mandatory. So they could just write notes in their notebook. However, they might find it a little more stressful to keep up if they have to copy everything down. So I would recommend that for all of the notes that we have that are hot linked, to go ahead and print them ahead of time. Another slide that they will see on any of these days would be what their homework assignment is. So it's clearly labeled that they would have a Math Excel assignment when it's due. And typically I will always have their Math Excel due by 8 a.m. of the morning of our next class. And that gives them some time to ask questions or to email or contact me if they have any issues. But also kind of announcements for the week ahead and just some tips for what they could do to better prepare. So a typical day starts off with, welcoming them into the class, taking up that week at a glance and opening that up and just kind of discussing what's going on. And then again, to identify what today's specific objectives are going to be. And then after that, we have our lesson. And when our lesson is structured, it's usually always contains a gradual release method where, we're introducing the topic of the day, maybe some new vocabulary, but then we'll start to work through some problems, and hopefully with the idea of gradually releasing. So the first problem we may do together, the second problem, they could work with a partner or they could try it and then we'll go over it together. And then hopefully by the third one, they're kind of getting the hang of it and having a little bit more of an independent go at the problem. Now, also with these lessons, sometimes they are live and or they're in video format as well. And there are pros and cons to both of those formats. And I actually surveyed the students to find out what they preferred, and I'm not surprised. It's like a 50-50 split. There's pros and cons to both. And so so I will be alternating, maybe not evenly, but I will be switching between live classes, presentations where we're interacting throughout, but also I will include some prepared videos that would allow students to access that lesson over and over, and they could rewind me or stop me at any point and just kind of move at their own pace. So I will be very selective about, especially our more difficult lessons, that I will be creating videos for those so that students would have that opportunity to hear the explanations again or to pause me to process and think through some of what we've been doing that day. After our lesson, there's always an assignment, and most of the time it will be in Math Excel or it will be in a just a regular worksheet or open at a document kind of setup. Now, daily support is available for students because in Math Excel there is a help button that the students can access, and they tend to like that just as long as they don't use it on every single problem, because that would be difficult to then be self-starting when it comes to any kind of an assessment. And then also there's a Google site, and I'm going to talk more about this as we progress through the presentation. So when it comes to assessing and grading, you can see the breakdown as far as tests and quizzes, homework and coursework, and most of the time the coursework is going to be referred to as learning target checks. I don't know if we have this as a category within our grade book. So basically it's the difference between non-graded because the machine will grade it versus graded work where they may be turning that in. And that's how the breakdown is for those kinds of assessments or assignments rather. There is no final exam first semester. Not sure about second semester though, but typically second semester we will do a full-fledged AP exam to practice. It's quite a lot to for the students to put the effort in to take that exam, but also it's quite a lot of effort for us teachers to grade it, return it back, and then thoroughly go over, how that test is so that they can learn what would best help them on the day of the actual exam, which is May the 4th. Lots of jokes in there, but May the 4th. And one of the things I really want to do, regardless of if it's an assessment, if it's a test, if it's an assignment, or if it's just a conversation, I want to make sure that the students can receive fast feedback. That is the best way to understand mistakes or to build on previous topics. And so that is definitely a communicative situation between us. So again, that's why I really encourage students to go ahead and participate at will. As far as student support or contacting me, here are some important bullet points. So first, I do have my office hours, right? Tuesday through Friday in the morning, starting at 7 till about 8:15. And we are going to use meet.google.com. And here's our join code, Anderson Loves Math. And the reason I'm using a generic Google Meet is because I also teach another course, a different course. So for any of the students that would need to pop in and see me for help in the mornings, then what they would do is they would all go to the same site and then they would find me there. I do ask that students email me in advance of when they would like to meet so that we can make an appointment, really, because a lot of times I've had students that will show up before school, all, looking for support before school. And if there's too many people at the same time, then I know that sometimes that's a little frustrating because they didn't get the attention that they really wanted or needed to have. So if students can contact me in advance via email, then I will know how to budget the morning times and schedule them so that there isn't that overlap. We have a Google Classroom and a Google Site, and the Google Site is really amazing. And the reason is because they will receive a lot of support from the written documents that we will have throughout the entire year. They're all up there, and it's the complete solutions that I've worked out. But there's also something that's extremely important and helpful to the kids, which is Calc Clubhouse. So I will talk a little bit about that more on the next page because I have a visual to show. We will also be using the College Board and Math Excels as different ways to support students in their learning. And again, if you should need to contact me aside from my unique email address, there is my phone number, at which time you could leave a voicemail and that would come right to my inbox. So just real quick about Calculus Clubhouse. What's really special about this is that students will have video supports based upon topics within each chapter. So for example, I'm just highlighting chapter 4 and they could print out a list of questions that are on or above kind of level sample questions, and they could take a look and decide if those are problems that they were able to solve or not. If not, for example, on the chapter 4 Clubhouse questions, if they wanted to find out about number 3, they could just simply click on question number 3 here, and then they would have access to the video solutions. So students have found that to be super helpful and encouraging, especially when they're preparing for a test. So I think it's important for students to understand that when they work hard, they will have a payoff for it. It takes consistency. You can have fun while working hard, and it is totally worth it. And these are some ideas and concepts that I will hit home as often as I can because, well, they need to apply themselves to be successful in the class. So that is it, and I hope that hits on all the main points of this class. Please feel free at any time to reach out to me, to contact me, and I would love to chat with you to answer your questions. So take care, and thanks for your time.